Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Sports Tech Allstars Podcast. Today, I'm in conversation with Nelly from Sports Tech Nation, an upcoming sports tech conference connected to ESPO in Munich later this year. Sports Tech Nation will be on the 1st and 2nd of December. It's an event where we, Sports Tech X, are a partner as well. We'll be hosting a side event within the Sports Tech Nation event, an investor summit focused on driving conversations between investors and startups in sports tech. It'll be a closed room event within the Sports Tech Nation main agenda, a conference that was held for the first time last year, which I attended by a group I know very well, Colosseum Sport. In this conversation, Nelly and I get into what exactly you can expect at Sports Tech Nation, an event I highly recommend that you attend. We will be sharing links on where you can buy tickets for the event in the show notes. Go check it out. Enjoy this conversation with Nelly from Sports Tech Nation. Nelly, tell us about Sports Tech Nation, this event which is coming from basically some of the OGs of the sports tech space, right? This is far from the first time that you all are doing this.
It is. Thank you, Ron, for having me. So Sports Tech Nation is a leading global sports tech platform. We're a summit that is coming for the second time to Munich, to Germany, to really throw a party for the industry, to everyone who speaks the tech and innovation language in the sports industry. And as you said, it's far from the first edition. We spoke the tech and innovation language of the sports industry way back when no one knew what sports tech is about. So Sports Tech Nation is really the party to bring the industry together and to create momentum for the future of sports and the sports industry.
I can attest to that fact. I think I was at an event in Tel Aviv, I want to say 2019, right? So this is going quite a ways back. That's when I got introduced to Sports Tech Nation and to Colosseum Sport, the team behind Sports Tech Nation, Oren, Fernanda, and the rest of them. And also last year, I was in attendance at your first event, Munich. And I can see now that with the second edition, there's more momentum. And of course, we are on board as official partners. Maybe give us a little bit of a flavor of the evolution of this event, what brought you to Munich last year, and maybe some highlights from last year's event and what we can expect at this year's event, which is, at the time of publishing, it might be less than 4 weeks away.
Yeah, so Sports Tech Nation, and as you said, Colosseum Sport as the organization company behind all of this. We're not a typical summit or conference. We don't sell square meters. So we want to bring real value to startups. We want to bring real innovation to clubs, to brands, right holders, federations, you name it. So in a nutshell, we bring around 120 startups from all different spaces in the sports industry together. And we'll touch upon this in a second. But our core is really to bring the startups in, because only if you have the good startups, this is where you can connect with the industry and make things happen. So we're having 120 startups, around 150 investors, over 200 partners that are international clubs and brands and right holders, media companies, venues, everyone that you need in this chain of the sports industry. So it's not just one focus, it's not one theme, but it's really the whole ecosystem of sports.
And that's important to know because you're also connecting to a major sports event, right? Which is ESPO, which happens in Munich on the same day. So like plus or minus. So this is kind of like a focused track within the ESPO broader event, which is typically for sporting goods and various other devices. And this is part of a bigger trend that we're seeing. I know that Web Summit, for example, is doing a sports tech focused track. I know that Slush in Helsinki is doing a sports tech focused track. So this is part of a growing trend that there is so much more talk, so much more interest on a conference dedicated to sports technology, where all the startups are there, the investors are there, the various operators are there. Is this part of the reason of why you all decided to partner with ESPO and bring this event, which you all have been doing only in Israel before, to Munich?
So the landscape here is changing, right? So everyone is looking at sports tech because there is a huge business potential. The industry is changing a lot. So there's a momentum for startups to really take the lead, change from fan engagement to scouting to everything that, was the status quo in the sports industry. And we're here to support and to offer the platform for it. And the partnership with ISPO is a very good strategic partnership for us and for ISPO. It's a win-win for both sides. It's really taking advantage of the location of Munich, the retailers, the brands that are coming anyways to ISPO, and we really bring in this innovation and tech layer to the event. So the focus is a bit different because SportsTech Nation is a B2B conference focusing really on the key decision makers of the industry. So I don't want to call it niche, but it's a small conference to be very sure that we're targeting the right decision makers, that we can connect, not the salespeople like in other conferences, but really the founders with the C-level, with the head off, with the decision makers, to really have short decisions and just make things happen. So this is our character of the conference. It's a very high profile B2B conference, but we enjoy a lot with the strategic partnership with ISPO to have the exposure in front of over 40,000 ISPO participants, which is huge, both for the startups as well as for our other participants, investors that are coming to the conference.
Yeah, makes sense. ISPO gets a huge footfall. So to get a few hundred people or more or less into the technology and innovation track is a natural addition. Okay, so what can we expect?
Maybe one thing that we see and that we developed from our learning and amazing feedback from last year, we have for the first time a retail tech track within SportsTech Nation, because we understood that the sports industry, not just the sports brands that are retailers, are highly relevant for us as SportsTech Nation, but also clubs that become retailers themselves, right? With all the merchandise, with all the new form of fan engagement. So this is maybe one parallel that we can see from ISPO and SportsTech Nation. We're the same audience, but it's a different title, right? So you would have a brand coming to exhibit at ISPO, but they would have their head of digital, for example, coming and attending SportsTech Nation.
Makes sense. In fact, that's a perfect segue. What was my question is what can we expect at STN 2025?
So it's a the breaking innovations in the sports tech industry.
You mentioned 120 companies or thereabouts, 100 plus startups will be around?
120 startups from really around the globe. We have startups coming in, obviously, from DACH, UK, Netherlands, the US, Israel, India, Brazil. So really, it's a very global conference. And this is also one thing that makes us so unique, and it's super valuable for us. The sports industry is a global industry. We bring people together, and that's why it's super important for us also to strengthen this global approach. So you can expect to connect with startups with really the newest innovation from very, very early stage. So we had the first calls with some startups that pitched us their idea and said, okay, but we need to finalize, the legal part to actually be a company. So this is as early as they come to SportsTech Nation, up until bigger scale-ups that are already working in the industry, that have already paying clients, that are now, expanding to different markets. And we focus this year on 4 major subjects. It's retail tech, as mentioned. We have data and analytics, mostly in soccer, but, all the AI buzz, data and analytics is super crucial. This time we're focusing on soccer. So both from the coaching side as well as from the scouting side, there's a lot going on in the space. The 4th is also a major theme, which is fan engagement, media broadcasting, and smart venues. So everything around fan engagement, the new era of fans, and we can see already with the old structures of club, but also with new alternative leagues, how much this is changing, how much the models of media and broadcasting is changing in this field. And the 4th is the topic of health tech, wellness tech, and fitness tech. I would call it like the typical sports tech focus, where you have the improvement of athletes' performance, but also injury prevention, fitness tech, and all this. So yeah, there's quite a lot going on.
Yeah, plenty of action. So you got a bunch of companies across some important themes, which you already mentioned. There will also be, you've already talked about investors, and in fact, we are partnering, right, on a specific side event within so there is ISPO, which is the mega event, and there is SportsTech Nation, which is focused on tech and innovation. And then we, in partnership with SportsTech Nation, that is SportsTech X in partnership with SportsTech Nation, are hosting another side event, which is Investor Summit, which is within the program of SportsTech Nation, right? Nelly, what can you tell us about what's expected there? Who is going to be in attendance? And what is the main agenda of that? I think it's a 3 or 4 hour block.
I think as much as we want, the founders to succeed and come up with amazing opportunities and ideas to tackle issues in the sports industry, if we don't have the capital right there, there's also no innovation. And that's the reason for us as Sports Tech Nation, but also in the bigger picture of Colosseum Sport, to really support the startups. And we can only support the startups if we bring in the right network of investors. And why am I saying not just the right investors, but the right network of investors is because we know that as investors, it's crucial for us to be connected. Because as much as we want to, support one startup, put a check and wait for it to succeed, we need the network, we need the ecosystem. And this is why we said we're going to have the investor summit together with Sports Tech X to have value there, to bring the right people to the room, to give them the right insights. I think that's also super crucial. I keep hearing and saying there is more money in the market than good opportunities, right? So you want to make sure as a startup to partner with the right investor, with a strategic investor. And this is why we as Sports Tech Nation Colosseum Sport are creating this space for the investors to connect and to be more strategic in their investments.
Makes sense. Fair point, Nelly. I mean, this is exactly right. This is something that we talk a lot about, which is why we were also really interested in partnering with you guys. I was at the event last year, really well put together, a lot of companies, and also saw that there was this side event track, right, of the Investor Summit, which was kind of facilitating this matchmaking while there's a bigger conference and there's lots of people and lots around. But then to give the matchmaking of connecting investors to startups a bit more focus. And I think you're also evolving on that format, right? Like there's a bit of conversation and then intentional, organized matchmaking between the investors and the startups, correct?
Yes, exactly. So it's one layer is to get the investors together, because we will have people from corporate venture capital, from VCs, angel investors, networks of angel investors, and people that are investing agnostically and are looking into the sports tech space, but also very much focused on the sports tech space. So it's a very interesting mix to bring those people together and then again to match them with the right startups. Because as much as, it's fun to stroll around a conference and see different exhibitors, you want to be matched. You don't want to waste your time just, scrolling through 120 startups. If there is something specific you're looking into invest, then you reach out to us and we make it work and we bring the right startup to the right investor.
Makes sense. All right, Nelly, I think this is quite a nice plug. Maybe give us a second on Colosseum Sport, which is the company behind all these events, which is, as you mentioned right at the top, has been doing this for a long time and also has done various things in the sports industry. Oren is one of the people that I consider a friend within this space, has been for a while. Why does Colosseum do what it does?
The Colosseum Sports is really an innovation hub for sports tech startups that is based in Tel Aviv, but is working globally for a couple of years already. And I can also tell you the way that I met Oren in Colosseum Sport was that in the past I was organizing delegations for German businesses. And one of my clients was actually the DFB, Deutsche Fußballbund, the German Soccer Association, that came 5 years in a row with their U8 team and their board to Israel, mostly for a game with the Israeli national team and some other teams that flew in. But the board was always here also to get educated. And one of the meetings that I made sure to put up was to connect them with Oren and learn about sports tech. As I said, a couple of years ago when sports tech wasn't the topic that everyone's talking about like today. So this is actually how I met Oren. So it's really a support system, an ecosystem for the sports tech startups, supporting them, as I said, both with investments, but also as a strategic partner, bringing them the right POCs, design partners and clients. And from the other side, also a scouting arm for clubs and brands around the globe that are scouting innovation in the sports tech space.
All right, Nelly, I know it sounds like there's a lot happening at Sports Tech Nation, but I know you have more up your sleeve. Tell us, what else can we expect there?
So this year, for the first time, we're launching a women's sports startup competition with some amazing partners that are Plug and Play, Economy, and FC Victoria Berlin, to really make sure that we're serving this huge potential that is called women's sports. So actually the idea came up because I had a call with a UK investor that put up a fund directed to women's sports. And he told me he did not get enough deal flow. And I said, it's crazy. How come? There's a huge market out there waiting. And we can see with the UEFA Cup and with a lot of developments in the multi-ownership model of women's clubs, brands that are positioning themselves as sponsors in women's soccer, but also in other women's sports. And then we said, why not use the platform and really bring in the best startups that are tackling issues directed at women's sports. So it's not from, the impact perspective of doing good to the world, although it does, but it's really a huge business potential that we want to make sure we are addressing. So this is something that I would urge you also to go and vote in our public voting. We have a link on our social media challenge to vote for one of the 10 startups that are the finalists. And we have the final on the 2nd of December at 12 p.m. at Sports Tech Nation. We will have the final with a prominent jury. And actually, as an amazing treat to the audience, thanks to our partner from DB Tonio, we'll have the opportunity for the audience to also vote for their favorite startup. So if you want to join the movement, because it really is a movement, not just a competition, then you should make sure to be there.
For sure. And again, the women's sports is a topic that we have covered a lot on our channels at Sports Tech X, is one that we certainly believe in a significant way. Again, not because it's some altruistic or good thing to do, because this is a big driver of the growth of sports. From an athlete and audience perspective, how do we get more women involved in sports? So great that y'all are doing it. And also from a founder's perspective and a solutions perspective. So great that y'all are doing this. And we'll put a link in the show notes for where you guys, the listeners and viewers, can go and vote. So make sure you do. So a top event brought to you by people who really know what they're talking about in this space, in a city like Munich, which is a thriving hub for, or important center, let's say, for the sports world in general, next to a major event with a lot of footfall, lots of, let's say, good reasons to come in to Sports Tech Nation. We will be sharing links. You'll see this in the episode notes, so where you can get tickets and where you can subscribe. If anybody wants to know more information, Nelly, I assume that they can reach you via email or LinkedIn.
Yes, LinkedIn, email, whatever works. We're also a global team, so we work around the club because we have Fernanda sitting in Rio, Ido in Ireland. I'm based in Tel Aviv. And so we're covering all time zones. So feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah, it seems like this Sports Tech Nation certainly doesn't sleep, right? Well, now, Nelly, thanks so much for taking the time. Thanks for telling us about Sports Tech Nation. And looking forward to seeing you at the event.
Me too. Thank you so much, Ron. And what an amazing partnership we have here.
Looking forward to some good outcomes. All right, guys, that is a wrap for another episode. Yeah, our event calendar is super busy, but this is a key highlight. And if you're going to be in and around Munich, or even if you're not going to be at the time, you should be there at that time. So make a trip. It's going to be worth it. Sports Tech Nation on the 1st and 2nd of December. Put that in your calendar. See you guys there. Cheers.